Welcome to Confessions by Banana Ketchup. Encounter with El Duende. Full disclosure, throwaway account. I'm very hesitant to talk about this. My wife and I are both college-educated professionals. Other than this one time that I'm about to describe, we've never experienced anything that would qualify as paranormal. We've never seen ghosts, UFOs, Bigfoot, etc. The reason why I'm posting this is because I'm genuinely looking for any information on what we saw. At the time, about 12 years ago, we lived in northeastern Arizona in southern Apache County, close to the Navajo Nation. We had no kids at the time and would typically go out to dinner after work on Friday nights. We would drive about an hour to a neighboring town as our very small town had few good restaurants. As we were driving back, my wife was behind the wheel around 9 or 10 p.m. and we're both watching out for animals. It wasn't uncommon to see deer, antelope, and jackrabbits, which could damage our truck if hit. We'd also often see rats, mice, and prairie dogs too. So, as we are going along, all of a sudden, this small, about 18 inches tall, bipedal creature goes running out in front of us. It ran from one side of the road to the other and disappeared in the cedar trees that are typical along the main highway we were traveling. The most messed up part was that the thing was wearing clothes. It was dressed in a robe and had a pointy hat. We can't really remember the colors of the clothes, but we both agreed that the hat was red. It didn't look cute or friendly, more like the stuff of nightmares. Its skin was a dark brown or dark gray. Its face looked monstrous and was grimacing. I had the impression that it was very distressed and seemed to be running away from something or someone. It seemed obvious to us and our truck. I looked over at my wife, who neither hit the brakes nor swerved whatsoever, and she's just looking straight ahead at the road. I seriously thought I had just had a hallucination. Not because I've had one before, but I can't believe what I just saw. So I said, "Did you see that?" To which she quietly replied, "Yeah." In order to confirm my own sanity, I needed to hear her say what she saw first. I then said, "What did you see?" She then said, "Like a little person with a wizard hat on." Then I said, "Yeah, what the duck?" I honestly wouldn't believe my own eyes and memory if she hadn't seen it too. She's also said that if I hadn't seen it too, she would have completely shut it out of her mind and would have long forgotten it by now. In fact, I would have serious doubts if I had said what it was first and then she agreed with me. We've talked about it several times since then and are still dumbfounded at what it was. I've done some research and it's hard to glean any information because people all around the world have claimed to see small humanoid creatures for hundreds, if not thousands of years. The variations are all over the place. This thing wasn't like the friendly looking garden gnomes that people have in their yards. I hope to never see one again and sure as kid wouldn't go looking for one. My wife once described it as a little demon. Does anyone have any experience with such a thing or can point me to some information about this type of creature? I choose to call it El Duende as that seemed appropriate for our region. Thanks. Thank you, OK Cryptographer 5018, the author. A list of my personal paranormal experiences. I solemnly swear the following is absolute truth and nothing but. First of all, I want to introduce myself as a reasonably healthy adult male. I exercise regularly. I got good enough grades in school and university and no known mental health issues. I have an active social life. One peculiar thing about me is my memory. If I'm told something in conversation, it just sticks. I worked in bars, restaurants for 10 years and could remember a table's order of 16 people from a year ago and never write anything down. I've done it. I can also have visual recollection as far back as 3 months old. This is confirmed by my parents. Another peculiar thing, I was never afraid of the dark, as far back as I can remember. If I was scared, I would turn off all the lights so I could hide better. I'm not looking for a date, but I want to express that I believe I'm a very normal human being, and my beliefs in the paranormal are skeptical, but curious. I could very well have been hallucinating all my life. The first experience. As I write this, my eyes tear up. It's uncontrollable. I was 5 years old. In my room, moonlight was coming in from the window, making a square of light on the adjacent wall. The concept of fear hadn't entered my mind yet, and I was lying in bed when suddenly the silhouette of a man in a pointed hat walked across the square of light. My mind immediately thought, that's impossible. What could possibly have made that shape? I get up on my bed and look out the window. Second story, clear sky, no clouds, no obstruction, just a nice summer night with my blinds open. I lie back down. He comes again. "Mom, come look." I explain what's going on to my mom. She sits for a minute, tells me it's my imagination, leaves. The following is hard for me to write. I feel terror, even though it's been 23 years. As she leaves, he comes back, but this time he stops, turns to face me so that I can see the shadow of his arms at his sides. He shakes his head as if disapprovingly. I can feel it. He turns and runs away into the wall, and is followed by dozens more silhouettes of other people. I put my head under the covers. I'm terrified. If anyone's interested, I will post more. Thank you, author. One thing I just can't explain, and another that terrifies me to this day. Two separate stories in post. So to start off the first one, I'm not sure if it falls under the paranormal or cryptozoological category, but I don't know where else to tell this story, and I'd like some insight. My grandparents live on a pretty large farm in southwest Michigan. Being a rural area, there's tons of wildlife, and growing up exploring the woods around the farm, I became pretty familiar with the animals that lived around there, such as deer, coyotes, woodchucks, etc. Well, one day, I wandered off to go fishing. The spot I liked to fish was only about a half a mile from my grandparents' house, so I was down there pretty regularly. I made it to my fishing hole, and so far everything seemed normal, only this time I felt like I was being watched. I fished for maybe 15 minutes, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong, and I hightailed it out of there. I made it about halfway back to the house when I heard something large running through the woods behind me, so I dropped my gear and ran for my life. I just made it out of the tree line and looked back to see what was chasing me, and when I turned, I saw a huge creature, bigger than anything I'd ever seen in those woods. I didn't stop running, but I got a good look at it, and the best way I can describe it is a wolfman. It was tall and had dark matted fur and the face of a dog. It ran on all fours, but looked like it may have been bipedal. It never followed me out of the woods, but stopped right at the tree line and ran the other way. I got back to the house and told my grandparents what happened, and we grabbed guns and headed out to try and find it. But all we found were tracks that neither we or the DNR could identify, because it looked like a wolf print, but there's no wolves in that area, and it was too large to be a wolf. My grandparents never believed me, but I still swear something chased me out of those woods. Here's the story that really scared me. I was 13 and had just reconnected with my father as he was leaving rehab, so we arranged for me to come stay a weekend at his house. I arrived and he had a new girlfriend who gave me really weird vibes. Not bad, just weird. An important part of this story is understanding that my father and his girlfriend at the time are both Native American and both have a very deep spiritual connection. Inside the house, there's a prayer altar of sorts, but I had never seen something like it growing up. It had a deer skull and other animal parts on it. The whole thing radiated this bad energy, and I refused to go near it. Well, that night, his girlfriend had done some prayer ritual of sorts, and had been speaking in tongues and convulsing in front of the altar, and as I watched her, I noticed a dark apparition hovering above her. After she was done, there was this energy about her and in the house that I can't even describe. It unsettled my spirit like nothing ever had before. Well, that night I was asleep in bed, and I woke up to my bed shaking and jumping with the frame slamming into the floor. I screamed for my dad, and I heard him scream almost at the exact same time. We both ran out of our rooms, and as I passed, I looked into his room to see his girlfriend throwing herself around the floor, bending in ways I didn't think were possible. Suddenly, everything stopped as fast as it had started, but my dad and I grabbed a few belongings and stayed in a motel that night. I never went back to that house and thankfully never saw that woman again. Thank you, According Ad 4193, the author. Thank you for watching, everyone. If you already haven't, subscribe to this channel so you don't miss any new episodes. See you again soon, and until then, please, be safe.